Welcome back. Then let's kickstart a movers and shakers segment with UPL. That stock is under some pressure. CIMB has come out with a brokerage note. Anisha joins us to run us through those details. Anisha, over to you.
Hi, Nigel. Good afternoon. Well, yes, CIMB has written a note on UPL. They maintain a reduced call on the stock with the target price of 593. Now, they see three major risks for the stock. First up, it is that the European drought might cause some problems for sales of this particular company. Secondly, there is risk with respect to the soybean product. And thirdly, the valuations of the stock is a bit high. Now, to break it down, they take the cue from Bayer's call, wherein they mentioned that Europe is going through a drought, and that means that the sale of insecticide and fungicide in the region might be impacted, and that's the reason of the weakness in the stock today. Why it is important for UPL? Well, after the acquisition of Arista, Europe actually constitutes 20% for the business, and hence it's seeing a bit of weakness in trade today. Secondly, one of the star products has been Mancozeb, and that also is facing volume as well as pricing risk, and that's another reason that the analyst is a bit weak on the stock. Lastly, in terms of the valuation, they say that it still trades at a premium to the historic valuation, and hence a reduced call on the stock.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Ekta, Cadila is weak in trade. What's the reason?
Well, the news on Cadila is that Mylan, in fact, has launched Lialda generic, which is basically an ulcerative colitis drug. Now, why is this negative for Cadila? Is because Cadila is, in fact, selling this particular drug in the US, and it is one of Cadilla's highest EPS contributors, plus one of their largest products in the US. So it is significant in terms of the contribution, plus in terms of the sub-$100 million in terms of contribution to the US. Cadila had launched this particular drug as a sole generic all the way back in Q2 of FY18. It was then followed by an authorized generic launch plus Teva, but Teva did not manage to ramp up, and there were irregular supplies from Teva for this particular drug. So now with Mylan's launch, this would be the first actual launch of a particular competitor within Lialda generic market, and hence that would be a negative for Cadila. Though the market was expecting it, there were some analysts who were expecting it to probably be launched a little later. So this is, remember, one of the key drugs in Cadilla's portfolio, which is now going to see competition.
Okay, all right, Ekta. Thanks so much for that. Well, Ashmir joins us to tell us about Monsanto. There was a ruling that came in an hour and a half or so back. Ashmir, over to you.
Right, so bad news coming in as far as Monsanto is concerned. That's a JV between Mako as well as Monsanto. The ruling is against them essentially is that it paves the way for the CCI to go ahead and to probe the company for alleged abuse of the Competition Act in terms of abuse of dominant position. Now, in 2015 and 16, we had the CCI arrive at the prima facie finding. After complaints had been filed to the CCI, there was a prima facie finding that the CCI, the competition watchdog, the competition commission arrived at, that there was abuse of dominant position by Monsanto. That was in terms of charging unreasonably high prices, exceedingly high prices for the BT cotton seeds that were being sold by the company in question. Now, after that prima facie finding, the CCI proceeded to begin detailed investigation into the matter. And as a part of those detailed investigations, they also sought to investigate and to take action against the executives and the directors of the company in question. Now, it is against that Monsanto had moved the Delhi High Court. They were met with a disappointing order in October of 2018 by a single judge bench of the order. They then moved the division bench of the Delhi High Court, and today we understand that the order that was pronounced this morning is quite clear. It has dismissed Monsanto's application, and in doing so, it has cleared the decks. It has given the green signal for the CCI to go ahead and to investigate the parties in question, even if it means investigating the executives and the directors of the company. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's do a quick recap then of the top buzzing stocks. Well, we've got UPL, Cadila as well as Monsanto. By the way, keep your eye on the mid-cap index. So that's dipped into the red. So it's lost about 65 points just as we speak. But staying with individual stocks, Ekta is still here with us, and she's going to tell us about the stocks brokerages are recommending or talking today.
Well, except for the big stocks such as Z and UPL, I'll tell you about all of the other brokerages in focus on specific stocks. So Kotak on TechM, they've reiterated their ad rating on that. TechM reiterated the telecom business growth potential of 5 to 7% in FY20 without 5G contribution. They believe that predictability is returning in operations as well as financial operations. That is Kotak. CLSA on pharmaceuticals growth in the domestic market has slowed to 6% due to seasonal impact in November. They expect the domestic market to witness 10 to 12% growth in FY19 based on current trends. Nomura has written on Concor. They maintain a buy, target price 800 rupees. According to them, the railway cut haulage charge for empty containers and empty wagons by 25% will be a key positive for Concor. Jefferies has written on consumer finance. Tighter funding to developers over supply issues may create asset quality pressures for the likes of NBFCs, HFCs, banks with developer exposure. So they prefer niche financiers with limited developer exposure, strong parentage companies such as HDFC and LIC Housing Finance, and private corporate banks such as Axis and ICICI Bank. Edelweiss has written on Shriram Transport as well. Target price 1422. They would like to re-pitch Shriram Transport despite tightening liquidity scenario for the sector due to growth visibility, expectations in terms of moderation in credit costs, comfortable liquidity and attractive valuations. And lastly, Edelweiss has also written on Ashoka Buildcon, buy, target price 201. The company is committed 150 crore equity in the city gas distribution arm, and that should be a positive development for the company.